Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to have a look at my monthly wrap-up for the month of May, which I call Magickal May, because we've got a lot of things to look at. There's been an influx of tarot decks and oracle decks, and I also went to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival here in Sydney, although I did post a video just on a haul that I did at the festival, so I'm not going to show you those decks again. They are going to be, however, at the end of the video. If you want, I'm going to put the link for the video that I took from the festival. So these decks are completely new. They came to me in the month of May, and the reason why it's so many of them is because we had a couple of sales, and we had a few decks that came in that I ordered a couple of months ago. And so, you know, sometimes it's just a lucky coincidence, a happy coincidence, and everything comes through at the same time. But it's going to be a long video. I'm going to be as straightforward and to the point as I can. But as you can see, there's a lot of stuff. So grab yourself a snack and a coffee. It's going to be a long one. So first of all, I wanted to show you these decks because they're quite unique, I reckon. I haven't seen them around that much, and that's probably because these are Italian decks, but they're all, so we've got 2 tarot decks and 1 oracle decks. As a matter of fact, it's called the Chest of Oracles, and it includes 3 different oracle decks that you can use together, or you can actually separate and use one by one. It depends on how you want to, what kind of spin you want to give a reading. And these 2 are tarot decks. So this one is Japanese centered, in specific yokai center. So yokai is the Japanese term for, you know, those supernatural beings. And this one is flora. So of course it's centered around plants and flowers and fruits. But let's have a look. So I ordered them, all 3 of them, on Amazon Italy. So what happens is that Amazon Italy doesn't have a deal with Amazon Australia, in the sense that most of the time, if you have Amazon Prime and you live in Australia, or perhaps also the US, you will see that you can actually access other Amazon from different countries with the Prime delivery. So basically free delivery. We have that deal with Amazon UK, we have that deal with Amazon US, Amazon Germany, and I think now they added Amazon Japan, which made me really happy, but we don't have that with Amazon France and Amazon Italy. And I'm really hoping for them to extend the deal to Amazon Italy, because I do tend to buy a lot of decks from Italy. And you know, the shipping costs are not small. So we're looking at, every time we're looking at 20-30 euros of shipping cost. But anyway, so this is a really beautiful, albeit peepish tarot deck. I have to say though that the peeps are, there's always a bit of an extra element to the peeps, and it's always something that is thematic to the meaning of the card. The pages are all illustrated, and as I was saying before, they're all related to yokai and yurei myths. So you know, the spirits, the supernatural beings that are so famous nowadays. I think that there's been a bit of a boom on the Japanese lore, supernatural lore lately, perhaps after the yokai yochi was first published a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. Everyone has loved that tarot deck. Is really a beautiful one, and everyone has been, you know, embarking into this adventure in discovering these myths and legends that are so very interesting. Many of them are actually very heartbreaking. I must say, I've been studying Japanese and Japanese folklore, and there's always something very heartbreaking, very touching in all of the legends. Some of them are really funny as well, so it's not just tears, but it's also laughs. This deck is beautiful. You don't need to speak Italian because, well, obviously if you want to refer back to the book, I have to say the guidebook is just in Italian, doesn't have a face-to-face English translation. And it does tend to explain, for example, the myth the card is referring back to. So this is the Regina di Bastoni, which means the Queen of Wands, and it's referring back to May. And you read this, and obviously you get more information about that card in specific. You can still read with it, especially because it is Pipish. You can still read with it, and it's really beautiful. Like the majors are just absolutely superb. This is the star card. But let's say if you do use Google Lens to translate, then you get a bit more of that insight into the cards. So this is the Tarocchi Giapponesi, so the Japanese tarot by Laura Tuan and Fabrizio Spadini. So this is the Tarocchi Flora, so the flora is like the same word in English. And it's still by the Vecchi, and the Vecchi is quite an old publisher, because I remember a few years ago, it must have been at least 20 years ago, because I was still living in the Netherlands, and I bought I used to live in the Netherlands, but I had clients all over Europe, so I was traveling a lot for work, and every time I was traveling, I was just, you know, looking for tarot decks. And I bought this tarot deck back in Barcelona in Spain, and it was the Spanish version of the Celtic Tarot by Laura Tuan, and it was still published by the Vecchi. I did not pay attention to that, but I was going through all my decks a couple of months ago, and I found that out, and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. So this deck is also Pipish. However, I must say the pips are so beautiful. There's you know, different flowers depending on the suit. The majors obviously are fully illustrated. They are quite beautiful too. The quality of all of these three decks is very good. It's a very sturdy kind of matte, but you can feel that it's got a coal in it. It's not a cheap production. It's actually a really good product value. As I was saying, you've got the same flower, so the tulip for the suit of cups, for example, and so on and so forth. I'm not an expert on at all on flowers, I'm sorry. This to me looks like either cherry or almond for the suit of pentacles, and then you know, for wands we have a different one. It's a beautiful deck because it gives you the possibility of reading almost like a Marseille, in the sense that because it's not illustrated, but it's still really beautiful. It lets you talk about the card, you know, just take your point of view on the meaning of the card, and weave your story basically, and talk about it, and communicate the message of the cards to the person who's asking for the reading. I've actually used not this one, but the Japanese tarot in a reading for a client, and because this person really loves Japanese folklore, and so I said, oh, this tarot deck is actually really beautiful. This one is, the Flora one is really beautiful too, and I really found that it's very conducive of an intuitive kind of reading. So I'm quite happy that I got these ones. They were very affordable. They are mass market, and as I said, the death card is just absolutely fantastic. I love it. So there is one thing that I don't know whether it's common to all of the different languages for tarot, but you will notice that most of the time on Italian tarot decks, this is called the major arcana. That is a nameless, so the nameless major arcana, because most of the time in the traditional system, let's say, of the Italian tarot decks, the death card does not show you the name, the death or death, and so but you always know, of course, that is the death card, because there's no other card on the majors that is not named. And of course, if you don't know your numerology, of course, but if you do, you will see that it's number 13. It's a beautiful, personally, I think it's a really beautiful deck. The guidebook is like the Japanese one. It will give you quite enough information about the card. Even when we go to the minors, it's half a page, but it still gives you a bit of information about the meaning of the card, the upright meaning and the reversed meaning. So overall, I think these are very valuable decks for the price that they sell for. I think it's around 22 euros per deck. Obviously, you know, if we did have that deal with Amazon Italy and I didn't have to pay for shipping, it would be even better. That's why what I do most of the time, I buy tarot decks from Italy, like 3 or 4 at a time, in order to just make it easier to write off the shipping expenses. So this was the Flora Tarot, and also the third one that I wanted to show you is not a tarot deck, it's an oracle deck, and as I was saying before, so it's called Lo Scrigno degli Oracoli. It means the chest of oracles, and it's got 3 oracle decks in one. So it's got the cat oracle, the witches oracle, and the deities, so the gods and goddesses oracle. I really love this. The first time I saw this was on the Instagram page of one of my closest friends, and she lives in Italy. And she was saying, look, you really have to check this out. It's amazing. The color palette is beautiful. It pairs up really well with the Jonasa Giao's tarots. Not just the 7th edition, but other editions as well. I tend to mix them up, so it's 3 oracle decks, but I tend to mix them up, and you can tell by the fact that we've got 3 different backings. See, 1, 2, 3 different backings. So if you want to use them separately, you can. What I would say is that the keywords are very, very easy to read. You know, success, for example, the gift, you know, fear, etc. However, I do think that the oracle of gods and goddesses, or deities in specific, reads more like an archetype kind of deck rather than an oracle. The cat one is super sweet. I really, really love the one with the cats. And the main reason is that it actually shows cats being cats and not humanized, personified. Even, you know, the conflict, having fights and everything. So this one reads really well with any kind of floral, botanical, animal, nature themed deck, but also, as I said before, whenever there's people in the Jonasa Giao's, for example, the Witch's Wisdom tarot will pair up really well with this one. The Botanica, also the Botanical Tarot by Jessica Bott, reads really well with this oracle. Let me think. The Forager's Daughter Tarot will read really well with this. And also, I think in some cases, one deck that I just received, so it won't be in this video because it's in June's haul. I recently ordered the Housewives Tarot, and I do believe that this one gives it a more magical kind of spin because the Housewives Tarot is so much fun. I remember posting it on Instagram and I got someone commenting, I'm sorry I forgot who it was, but that was such a brilliant comment, and I thought I'm gonna make a video on that, because she was saying you could use, I was saying that it pairs really well with the Zombie Tarot, and so she was saying you can make up a spread in which you call it before the apocalypse with the Housewives Tarot, and after the apocalypse with the Zombie Tarot. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, so I'm actually working on that. I'm working on a spread before and after the apocalypse. So this is really a very, very versatile kind of deck. I tend to use it many times, and it actually stays on my desk. So I highly recommend it. As I said before, so this is the guidebook, and it's very similar to the other 2 that we've just seen. In this case, you probably do need Google Translate even more than for the tarot decks, because obviously the tarot decks, you can read them because they follow the RWS system. However, this one does need the guidebook. Not all the cards, many of them would be quite straightforward as a meaning, but in some cases you would probably do need to read the explanation of the card on the guidebook. Next, I want to show you the Book of Shadows, an Alchemist story by Andrea Aste, which comes with a really beautiful chunky monkey style kind of book or companion book. It's not really a guidebook. It's got plenty of really interesting things. I'm just going to show you. So not only do you have the usual you know, you got a bit of also sample readings here, for example, but you also have the usual kind of explanation about the cards, but also you've got plenty of complementary stuff, like even a graphic novel referring to the story of the alchemist. You've got interviews with very famous you know, tarot people. And you've got a few images from a previous deck by Andrea Aste. I think it's called the Tarot Light and Shadow, which is very beautiful. If you know that tarot deck, you will recognize definitely his style, his art style, which is quite, you know, it's very beautiful and very consistent, I would say. Although the Tarot Light and Shadow, so it consisted of one, let's say, set of two decks. One was the tarot deck to be used for light work, and one was, you guessed it, for shadow work. But the one for light work was about this kind of color palette, and the shadow work was on kind of bluish. It looked like it was a bit of a negative side of the light tarot deck. Very interesting as a concept. I really enjoy his style. Not only that, but I think that I haven't had time, I'm sorry about that, but I haven't had time to look at the whole, this was a Kickstarter, so I haven't had like time to look at everything that came with it. But there's also a film, there you go, there is also a film, The Lost Corridor of the Tarot, which is you know, there's the documentary on YouTube that you can actually access, and it was absolutely, so I didn't have time to watch it, but I heard from others that did have time that it was absolutely stunning. Highly recommended. Really beautiful you know, art style and deck. The deck is this one. So as you can see, it's a really chunky one. It's kind of really glossy, so it catches the light, which is a pity, but I don't mind. It's you know what, for these kind of colors, I actually prefer the glossy finish, because it actually really makes the colors pop, and it's just absolutely superb. I really love, look at the colors on these cards. I'm not using any filter, so what you see is what you get. It's really beautiful. It's fully illustrated, very interesting take on tarot. I use it for reading already, and it reads really well. I'm looking at possibilities to pair it up with, for example, any kind of color themed oracle decks that will pair up really nicely with this deck. So as you can tell, if you know this artist, so he's Italian, but he lives in London. And if you're familiar with his other tarot deck, the Light and Shadow, you will definitely recognize the style. I like the style, it's a bit quirky. It's I love the fact that it's so full of colors, so saturated, just amazing. Look at this star card, it's absolutely stunning. I really love this deck. It was a Kickstarter, but now it's actually possible to purchase this deck. I don't want to say something that I didn't actually check. I don't know whether you can buy just the deck or you have to buy the book as well, but why wouldn't you? It's really interesting. It's a very interesting book anyway. So this is the Book of Shadows, an Alchemist story by Andrea Aste. Next, I wanted to show you these three decks because they're from the same artist, Pixel Occult. That's actually the name of the Instagram account, so if you want to follow them, you can easily find them there. I wanted to show them together also because I got them together, and that was a very fortunate coincidence, because I've been looking for this deck for a long time. The website is, so the artist is based in the US. The website, it's very odd because I don't know whether it recognizes the IP address. I think that it does, because I looked into purchasing it. I do have a PO box in Portland, Oregon, but somehow when I got to the point in which I was filling in the address, it just wouldn't go ahead. It just wouldn't let me buy it, even though I was gonna have it shipped to Portland, so not to Australia. And so the other option was to buy it from Etsy, the Etsy shop that would have sold and shipped to Australia. But the Etsy shop, I'm telling you, lately, I'm actually making it a point to try and buy directly from the artist when I can, because it's the amount of taxes that we have to pay and the shipping cost that we have to pay on Etsy to ship anything to Australia is just, it turns everyone away. Nowadays, if I want something from the US and I buy it on Etsy, it's also very misleading, because I don't know how they calculate the taxes. Sometimes they add 20% tax, import tax on it. Australia only has 10%. I reached out once to a creator telling them to please check whether the shipping costs, which are now we pay something around 80 Australian dollars shipping, plus you have to put the taxes money on top of that, and obviously they calculate taxes based on the total value, so the value of the deck and the value of the shipping. So if a deck is $80, you have to add another 80 for the shipping. That's $160. So they calculate taxes on that, which normally should be $16 because our taxes are 10%. But I reached out once. I had this problem that they were charging me 20%, and I reached out to the creator, and they said that there was a mistake, and they took AU to mean Austria, not Australia. So Austria, I imagine Austria will have 20% taxes, I imagine, but that it was fixed. But can you imagine if I hadn't reached out, I would have spent for a deck that was $80. I would have spent 160 plus 32, that's $192. So from $80 for the value of the deck, I would have spent $192 in total, which is $112 Australian on top of the value of the deck, which makes it, you know, it turns you off. And I don't have $200 available to spend on something that is actually costing only $80. So I do have the address in Portland, but obviously I have to pay shipping costs from Portland to Australia, even though it's very, very reasonable. So I haven't been talking about the deck. So this is the Sinking Wasteland Tarot, and I really enjoy it. It's a very beautiful deck. It's glossy. Really good quality, by the way. And as I was saying at the beginning, this was a very lucky coincidence, because what happened, so I'm just gonna put it here. What happened was I was looking for this deck, and I saw a retailer from New Zealand, Muna Maya Crystal, and basically she was giving readings with these decks, and I reached out to her because I used to buy, I bought a few decks from her, and I was always there, very happy. And I said, do you happen to have these decks on stock? And she said, well, I haven't put them in the website yet, but yes, I do have them. And so she was so kind as to selling me these decks. So I bought all three of them together, and for a very reasonable price. And shipping from New Zealand to Australia is not unreasonable. So this is the Neon Moon Tarot. It's one of my favorite neon punk kind of decks. As you can tell, the style is also very similar, the art style at least is very similar to the Sinking Wasteland, in the sense that some of the cards can actually be quite strong, let's put it this way, perhaps even confrontational at times. But I really do like the energy of both of these decks, especially this one. It's becoming very quickly one of my favorite decks. And it will be, so I've been asked when I'm going to post the video on, the modern kind of cyberpunk, neon punk kind of decks. It will come, I'm just waiting for the last deck. And once I find that one, once I receive that one, then I'm definitely gonna post that video, which is so much fun, because it reminds me, all of these remind me so much of that, the punk ages of the 80s and the 90s, and with the additional flair of the cyber world. And I really, really enjoy that. So this deck is will be in that video as well. It's absolutely fantastic. It reads really well, but I have to warn you, it kind of reads better for shadow work. Okay, it's not a hug deck by any means. If it has to tell you the truth, it doesn't garnish it with frills at all. It is very direct. So you don't read with it every day because it will be a bit heavy, let's say, but it's absolutely beautiful. And you don't always need to read with the deck. That's at least my opinion. Sometimes I just take photos of the decks to put them on Instagram. You know, I spend some times with my decks because I really like them. I don't always have to read with them. So the last one that I got from Magickal May in New Zealand is Lost Hollow, and this one actually is a linen edition. I think there's a linen edition for either one of the other two, but I prefer to have them non-linen. This one, I'm happy for it to be linen as well. It was the only one available anyway. I think that this one is now officially out of print. There may be somewhere some retailer that stock this deck still, but it was confirmed by Pixel Occult that this is out of print. At least from his end and or their end, and what's going to happen is that the next edition is going to be with red borders. So if you really want this deck and you cannot find it, if you wait a bit, then you'll be able to find it with red borders. And it will be interesting because, to tell you the truth, my favorite edition of this deck, I think this is already either the third one or the fourth one, but my favorite one came with cream color borders. So this is borderless, but ironically for once, which I always prefer borderless, but for once I actually really liked this King of Wands, by the way, is my favorite King of Wands ever because of the fire coming out of the beard and the hair. It's so cool. So I actually prefer the ones, the edition with the colored or cream colored borders. The art style on this deck is superb. The color palette is muted, as you can tell, but it's the right combination. It's not so it's the right kind of gray and black and white and the crimson red, which is really superb. And this deck, as well as the Neon Moon, is not a hard deck, but I don't think that was the idea, you know, when the creator started working on this deck. I think they actually wanted to have this kind of confrontational effect on the readers, because, you know, if you want a hug deck, then you look for a hug deck, and this is not it. But for shadow work, absolutely superb, really superb. And the art style is just fantastic. I mean, look at this hermit. Isn't it everything? It's just so beautiful, so cool. So these three decks by Pixel Occult, I was really happy and very lucky to find them all together. And just to stay in a theme of the cyberpunk, neon punk or neon tarot, these two also new to my collection, came in May. So this one first comes with a very you know, wraparound magnetic kind of box, and also a like a very basic burlap style tarot bag. So this deck, I have to say a couple of words first. So it's an AI deck, okay? So obviously I still, as I think I said that a couple of times before, it does come with a tarot guidebook. This is called a cyberpunk tarot. The guidebook is very basic, as you can tell. It's from a so I bought it on Etsy, and it wasn't coming from the US, so I was happy to pay for a normal price shipping. It actually is based in Turkey, if I'm not wrong. I will put the link in the description box below, as I always do. So this is, as I was saying, it's AI. I think that nowadays we trained our eyes to recognize the artwork from AI, don't we? I mean, we can kind of tell when there is this typical kind of style. The reason why I got it is because, well, first of all, it's just magnificent. Second of all, even the minor arcana, so the minors are not pips. They're not fully illustrated either. Let's see if I can get there quickly. I love this star card and the sun. So Ace of Wands, as you can see, you've got some kind of an illustration. The illustration is not necessarily referring back to the traditional RWS. In some cases it might be, like for example, you do have this kind of wedding-ish kind of decoration for the Four of Wands, but it's not always the case. Or you do have the laurel for the Six of Wands. I guess you can always kind of find some echoes of the traditional RWS. The reason why I got this deck is because I actually think it is absolutely beautiful. I got it because you know, it was in the theme of the cyberpunk, so I did spend the months of April and May buying a cyberpunk and neon punk decks for that upcoming videos that now everyone wants to hear about. So it's just beautiful. And as I said a couple of times before, I don't think I personally have enough information to be able to take a position, whether it's for or against or neutral towards AI. AI is becoming, there's a boom in AI app lately. If you're a content creator, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever, you will sooner or later consider the possibility to use an AI software, because it is just mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. And I can tell you that by having tried a couple of apps, I can tell you that 90% of the shorts that you see on YouTube are actually made with AI. So there's this software, it's called Video AI with the Y, so VYDO AI. You know, you put a link to one of your YouTube videos, and it takes like 10 minutes, and then it will spit out something like 60 shorts of different lengths, and you can give the keywords that you want to use, you know, the hashtags that you want to use. You can even ask for an algo to calculate the probability of these shorts to be seen, to be watched, to have views. It's crazy. It's absolutely, and it's not random. Like, I actually looked at one of my videos, and here I was, my voice talking, you know, about the shipping costs, which is something that apparently I talk a lot about. And there was also a kind of humor, and I kid you not, it was actually because I asked it to find, you know, something humorous. It was actually humorous. So there's this kind of artificial intelligence which is literally able to determine whether a sentence has been said with some kind of irony, with some kind of humor. It's crazy. So, willing it or not, I know that there is going to be a lot of legislation about it, and there needs to be legislation about it. In particular, I don't know if you're interested, I'm just talking and I'm showing you the cards. So if you're not interested, maybe you want to skip ahead or put me in mute. Or, you know, maybe you can play me at double the speed. Because I've been told that I tend to talk a lot, but that's me. I talk a lot, sorry. But I'm showing you the cards as well. So it's not just talking. So this is the Neon Tarot. And so as I was saying, this is not AI. This is by Katja Kirtoka, and it's been published by Dark Seneva. But just to finish up with the AI, there is right now, the European Parliament is actually going to discuss a law to normalize, so to regulate, let's say, the use of AI in any kind of context. And I'm really curious. I'm just reading, because I got the French page, and I'm really curious. I'm reading through it, and I'm kind of thinking what, you know, will be approved of that law or not. It's just a proposal for now. It will be so interesting. So this deck is published by Dark Seneva, and I have seen lately a lot of posts on Facebook, people reaching out and asking if the quality is worth it from these decks, you know, what to expect about the shipping times and stuff like that. I have to say, my experience with this, so I found this deck on Etsy. It was on sale. I only paid $19 for it. I love this deck. I mean, the colors are just absolutely amazing. I also really like the peeps. They are partly illustrated, I would say. I really enjoy this deck. I have to say, quality wise, it's $19, 19 Australian. So of course it's not your top of the line. Of course it's not a deluxe product, but I wasn't expecting it to be. And for $19, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. It is quite papery, fair enough. But it's a papery that, you know, there might be a core here. It's just, it does have that kind of, you know, almost orange peel kind of feel. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Very dry kind of papery, especially at the backs. But there is a bit of a coating on top of the fronts. It shuffles wonderfully because it's not too big and it's not too stiff. The quality is okay. One thing that I have to say though, just for full disclosure, the edging is terrible. I think it's quite clearly hand done, which is absolutely fine because I edge my decks as well, but many cards came without edging, so maybe someone forgot one side, you know what I mean, like they had edging here, here and here, but not at the top, so I had to do it myself. And I don't mind, as I said, but if you're not confident in edging a deck, particularly in black, because this kind of paper can actually absorb and you'll have a bit of bleeding, like for example here, let me see if I can make some kind of, so I don't know if you can tell, but there is a bit of bleeding here. So if you're peculiar about these things, and it is your right to be, but for $19, you know, and I was really looking forward to this deck because, I mean, look, the colors, that just, it's like punching. They're so brilliant. They're like a punch in the face. a good punch in the face, although I don't think that thing exists. So this is the Neon Tarot. And also I wanted to show you that the little white book comes in a couple of languages, Russian and English. And it is your typical one, but it does have a bit of more of a description. So it's not just one sentence for each card. So these were the Cyberpunk AI and the Neon Tarot deck. Next, I wanted to show you these two very much loved tarot decks that I was finally able to get. So I've been looking for the jumbo edition of the JJ, of the Jonasa Giles Tarot, for a long time. And this is the 4th edition. So there was this lady, she's a contact of mine on Instagram. I don't know if she has a YouTube channel, I don't think so. But she was a lovely soul because she let me have these 2 decks for a very reasonable price. She was fantastic. She lives in Minnesota, so she made it so that, you know, they came safe to Australia, even though they went through Japan. To come to Australia, but I was so happy. These decks, I don't know, there is something with my JJs, my JJ decks. I don't know what it is. I just don't know. This is the jumbo edition. I don't know whether you're familiar with Jonasa Giles' tarots. She's also the creator of the Stunning Tarot. Now there's a combination of color palette, art style, and also the choice of the images that is just otherworldly to me. I don't know, it's just, it does something to me. And the story is that when I saw these decks for the first time, I wasn't really attracted to them. I thought, well, yeah, okay, cute. A very stupid approach, I must say. And then I got the edition number 7. And I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love. And I thought to myself, I want all of them. So I've got the 4th, the 5th, the 6th jumbo, and the 7th. So I'm missing the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition. The first one is super expensive. I've seen it trading for like $750 US, which I don't have. But look at this Emperor card. Isn't it just fantastic? There are slight changes, not big ones, mostly because there are changes in the size, and therefore obviously if you have a smaller card, it's either you shrink the artwork or you cut it off. And in some editions the artwork is cut off, in some of them is actually shrunk. And that's the main reason why I wanted the jumbo, because I think that the jumbo is the second best tarot of all of Jonas's tarot decks to have, because the first one would be the best one. It's this size, but the jumbo is just as beautiful. And not being able to purchase the first one, I'm very happy with the jumbo. So I don't know, as I was saying before, there's something with this deck, something that really clicks you know, with me, and it gives me so much every time I use them in a reading. It's just amazing. I think I already posted the video with the best tarot and oracle pairings, and the Jonas Joust goes really well with the Universal Folk Oracle deck, which is mass market. They share the same kind of color palette, but as I was saying in my video, when you read with those two decks together, it's like they have their own conversation, and you're like just, you know, a spectator. You're just looking at them talk to each other, this wonderful conversation that they have, and you're just on the sideline. You're just, you know, admiring the energy, the flow that is going on. So these decks are amazing. They read really well, although I don't necessarily use the jumbo for readings, because as you can imagine, because I've said that many times, I cannot shuffle this. It is way too big. It does also pair really well with the oracle, the Italian oracle deck that I show you at the beginning of this video. So it's called Lo Scrigno degli Oracoli, which is the chest of oracles. They also share a similar color palette, and the size is very similar too, which means that you know, it doesn't look like you're comparing a huge tarot deck with a smaller oracle. They have a very similar size. The edition number 4, which is this one, there were not that many changes with between edition number 3 and number 4. However, there was a major change with edition number 5, which is oracle size almost, and the tint veers towards the green, so you don't have the same color palette, and that's a very interesting tarot deck. However, I really wanted this one, first of all because the backs are different, and also because it does have titles and also numbers at the top. And every time I see this Emperor card, it's just amazing. So the rest, it may have a little bit more of a purple kind of tone than the jumbo edition, but it's pretty much the same, and I really enjoy this one as well. So it's not just the 7th edition that I fell in love with. I notice that every time that I get my hands on another Jonas Joust tarot, I have the same feelings for all of the editions. So if any of you is selling the 1st edition, please get in touch with me. Don't ask me for $750 US, but I will never be able to buy it, but I really would love to. Yeah, maybe we can trade. There you go. I can trade with a different deck. So these two were my JJ number 4 and JJ number 6. Another tarot deck that I was lucky enough to find secondhand in a Facebook group is the Pacific Northwest Tarot by Brendan Mornell. I've already been reading with this because a friend of mine actually had this tarot deck, and she kindly let me have it. So I knew this deck before I even got it. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this deck. I love the fact that it combines some of my favorite colors with some of my favorite animals, not specifically the spiders, but you know, you gotta have spiders too in the world, in nature. And I always love the fact that whenever there's a tarot deck that is animal based and they use a cat for the Queen of Wands, I'm on board, because cats are performers. There's no two ways around that. In particular, my cats are drama queens. I remember I was talking about, especially the female, she would just, you know, she's an actress. She's a natural born actress. She would just, but now I found out that even my male cat is a bit of an actor, because the other day there was a neighbor's cat, and I don't have anything against the neighbor's cat, but they do come inside because I leave the door open to the backyard. And you know, I was looking into from the hallway, and I saw my male cat just looking curiously at the neighbor's cat, and they were not fighting, they were just looking at each other, and there was no conflict going on, no fighting, nothing. But I made a noise because I started walking towards them. I made a noise as soon as my male cat turned towards me. He went, "Oh my God, she's here, Mom is here." So he turned towards the neighbor's cat and he started like hissing. And I was like, "It's okay, you can stay here." But you know, he wanted to show me that he was doing his job and he was protecting me. And I thought that was so sweet, but I was also like, "Yeah, I gotcha. I know what you're doing. You know, you can't fool me." And so, sorry, just a small diversion, but this deck is absolutely superb. I love the way it reads. I have to have at least 3 or 4 animal center or nature center decks that I work with every month. So because of that, I tend to have a lot of animal themed decks. And I don't know, I feel like I turn towards an animal deck whenever perhaps I feel that people are, you know, whenever I feel that I've been overcrowded with people, whenever I feel that my energies needs to stay in the same place, I need to defend myself or put some boundaries around me, I actually use an animal deck because it gives me the energy back that I might have lost. So this is the Pacific Northwest Tarot. Another tarot deck that I got this month, or rather in the month of May, is the Avissomnia by Odonovan. And by the way, they're also working on a new project, so I'm excited to say there will be a new tarot coming soon. I don't know whether it's a tarot or an oracle, but I do know that it's a new deck. If you, I follow their Instagram account, so obviously that's where I got my info. And also there's the cosmic card that I have been showing in, I think, my mind, body and spirit haul video. So that's also by the same author, by the same creator, the cosmic card. So this is the Avissomnia. It is rather famous. I absolutely love this deck. It's got that kind of combination of this trance kind of like state. You know, Avissomnia. So Avis means birds in Latin, and somnia means sleep. So it is conducive of that kind of oniric or a sleepy or trance-like readings. Which, you know, in many cases, that depends on how you use it, but I tend to use this deck for, in some cases, for ancestral kind of work, in some other cases for past lives kind of work, because we need to get in touch with that kind of dimension when we do that kind of work. These are, let's say, these cards are really beautiful for any kind of reading, don't get me wrong, but if you need something very down to earth, I probably would rather use a different deck, and it's probably very personal. That's just my opinion. I did post a video on the best oracles to pair up with this deck, so I'll, if I remember, I'll link this video as well at the end of this. It is beautiful. The artwork is fantastic. The color palette is muted, as you can tell. But it's a really beautiful one. I actually really appreciate that. It's got that kind of hypnotic kind of effect that you want whenever you're doing that kind of work that I was, you know, mentioning before. And yeah, and it's got an Oracle of Oddities because I actually paired them up together. So the reason why there's an Oracle of Oddities card in here is because I didn't do a good job in separating them. Oopsie. So this is the Avissomnia Tarot. I think that this is a special edition because it's not the one that comes with the box. It came with this really beautiful tarot bag. Another tarot deck that I got in the month of May, see, I told you this was going to be a long video, is the Walking Meditation Tarot by Daniel Norman. The creator is the same creator as the Ascension Tarot. I think that one came in first. I'm not sure 100%. I love this tarot deck. It's absolutely beautiful. It comes with 2 guides. One is for actual meditation. So the concept of this deck is that the creator loves walking, and I do too. I love walking. Walking for me is actually kind of cathartic, it's curative, it's healing. And during the walks, you know, they were taking photos, and these are the photos that they've taken in many different parts of the world. Well, mostly the US where they live, but also there's I think there's 1 or 2 cards coming from Thailand or from Asia, somewhere in Asia. In any case, so basically the concept is that walking can induce meditation, and meditation can be healing. And so there is this guidebook. One is for the meaning of the cards, so your traditional guidebook that accompanies a tarot deck, but the other one is about meditation, so a guided meditation. I had a look at a couple of them, and I have to say that made me very emotional, because the first one that I looked at was walking for healing, and it was a healing about grief, so when you lose someone, and that was absolutely spot on. It's very, very touching. Absolutely recommend it. The tarot is superb, so these are actual photos, but then they're being passed under a filter on I don't know whether it's Photoshop or an app or something, but it's a kind of a distressing kind of filter. So they retain, let's say, all the elements of the photos, but they gave it a bit of a, almost a blurry, I want to say, kind of look. Not blurry that will make you sick when looking at that. It's just to make it almost like a kind of a fairy tale, once upon a time kind of air, which is probably what you want in a deck like that. And it's all natural, so it's all photos taken in nature. There's also no people on this deck, and I think you can start seeing some kind of a pattern here. The decks that I have gotten in the month of May, apart from a couple, they were all you know, either animal based or nature based. The month of May has been very stressful. We've had some health related concern, and so it's been very stressful, and I just felt like I needed to take a step away from people. And nature is the best way to do it, so there you have it. That's why I was reaching out for these decks. So this is the Walking Meditation Tarot. The last tarot deck, there's oracles to come, but the last tarot deck that I received in the month of May was the Forger's Daughter Tarot Afterlight Edition, and this made me very happy because it was a giveaway. So I won a giveaway, which let me tell you, to my memory, it never happened. I never win. I did win something. That's a lie, actually. I did win something, or I think I did, in the sense that once I received a camera in the mail, and it was, congratulations, you won. But I had no idea. I don't think I actually entered that giveaway, but I did receive a camera that it broke after a couple of weeks that I was using it, so that was a very sorry thing. But this is a fantastic giveaway that Jessica Laya Howard, she's the creator of the Forger's Daughter Tarot. Let me see. There you go, 2023. This is there for the latest print. I think that the first one was published in 2021, but she just finished a print run in May, and thanks to this print run, she organized a giveaway. I entered it and I won. She reached out to me and was like, are you sure it's actually me? You're not confusing me with someone else? No, absolutely. And she was so kind, because she actually, I told her, look, I actually live in Australia, so I don't know, the shipping costs are gonna be prohibitive, but she was absolutely adamant that the competition was you know, global. And so, and you know, she sent it to me in Australia, which made me really happy, because I didn't have to pay anything for it. It is an absolutely superb deck. I absolutely love it. The quality of this product is top-notch. First of all, you have a hardcover guidebook. It's more like a companion book. It is actually gilded in this really beautiful gold, gloss gold. It is fully illustrated and full colors, and as you can tell, there's quite a bit of information on pretty much all of the cards, because this is the Seven of Cups, so it's actually a minor. If you go to the let's not look at the Tower, please. Can we look at the Star card? Thank you. So we've got a bit of information on the majors as well. It talks about the card. It talks about, it gives a bit of a let's say, a reflection input, and it's got a bit of a divination meaning, upright and reversed. And it's also giving you the reason why it's been chosen. So the sign is the cardinal. So this is the cardinal bird for hope, creativity and positivity. The North Star for guidance and illumination, which is this one. And the crocus, which is the name of this flower, which I love, for renewal, emerging from a dark place. How beautiful is that? I absolutely love the way in which this book has been conceived and produced and published. There are a couple of spreads at the end. I think only one probably. Yeah, tarot spreads. It's beautiful. I highly recommend it. She actually went through the pain of looking at shipping cost for overseas, so not just the US. And she's actually, I think she found a deal with a company, so it's not going to be $80 for Australians to have it shipped. Okay, it's going to be much less than that. The tarot deck is superb. It comes in this really beautiful wraparound magnetic box that is illustrated in each and every side. And how beautiful is that? And look at this, it's just amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. It comes with a ribbon. And let me show you, the gilding is superb, absolutely magnificent. It's the kind of brilliant, glossy kind of gold gilding that doesn't actually hurt your finger, doesn't scratch your fingers when you use it. And this is the edition with the cream color borders. There's a few other editions. I think one of them is with colored borders, so the colors vary for each and every suit. I could be wrong, but I think that that's it. And another edition that I honestly do not remember. I only have this edition. It is beautiful. And again, another animal or nature themed deck for me this month. It really goes to show how much I wanted to stay away from the crowds, which is fine because now we're in June. It's okay. And for example, now we have Vivid Sydney in Sydney, which is a festival that started, I think, back in 2009. I love this card, by the way. I know that normally I don't necessarily have a sympathy for spiders. If you watch my channel, you will know that living in Australia means you have to deal with spiders as big as your hand, and I kid you not, especially in springtime. But I actually like this. I really like this this card. So Vivid Sydney is all about lights. It's this spectacle of lights, and there's going to be artists from all over the world coming here, and they have light installation, they have music installation, they have sculptures, they have paintings, they have interactive installations. There's also something like 7 tunnels that used to be train tunnels that they closed off many years ago, and now they basically they set up this light show, neon light show, which I'm really excited about, and I'm going on Sunday night to see. And so I'm really excited, and it's going to be packed. That's why I wanted to say that, because May has been the month in which I really felt like I had to step away from people, and June I have to deal with people because Vivid Sydney is generally packed, so much so that before they introduced some safety measure, there's a couple of people that actually unfortunately lost their lives because they fell into the water. So obviously now that everything is much safer. But yeah, it will be packed. So thank you again, Jessica, for you know, the giveaway obviously is a matter of luck, right? But the fact that she was so kind as to send it to me in Australia, I was really stoked, because it's not something that I take for granted. I actually know how much it cost, as I was saying before. So this is the Forager's Daughter Tarot. But let's have a look at the Oracle decks. So after I got the Pacific Northwest Tarot, I launched a bit of a poll on Instagram asking people to tell me what oracle would appear best, and everyone said the Seed and Sickle oracle, which I don't have, and I'm considering buying it, but I'm not too sure because it doesn't have keywords. And everyone said the Phenomena, oracle deck by Jessica Bott. And so I got the phenomena, and I completely agree. These two go perfectly together. Let me just show you quickly. It's a tiny deck. It's not massive. It doesn't have a lot of cards. I also have the Amethyst Oracle by Jessica Bott. I don't have her botanical deck, but I'm looking for it because I saw it and it's very beautiful as well. But see what I mean? Okay, I need to take out a few tarot cards because the decks are not the same height. There we go. So these two decks actually have that kind of really good energy that they share together. They share a similar color palette. They really communicate with each other. It's something that you can see immediately. The Phenomena Oracle is a deck that actually focuses on, you guessed it, phenomena, so natural phenomena. You will see all these kind of really interesting things from an astrological point of view, or astronomical, sorry, not astrological, from an astronomical point of view. You have, for example, Tide between Strength and the Emperor. So as you can tell, they share the same color palette. They also share the same kind of energy. The artwork is very similar as well. And what I can tell you about this Oracle deck, we talked about the tarot deck before, but what I can tell you about the Oracle deck is that even though the keywords are more like titles rather than keywords, it is very, very intuitive. So when you see the earthquake, you immediately understand that this is a situation that is basically, it's a massive kind of disruption in your life, something that is happening right now, something that is very, it forces you to refocus, it forces you to change things. It's kind of like the Tower kind of meaning. The snow is something that you need to take slowly, for example, because the snow, you know, it gives you that kind of sense of relaxation, that kind of sense that everything is silent in the snow. Because if you're familiar with the snow, you will know everything, you know, loses the natural kind of sound that things have, and everything is very soft. So that will give you that kind of meaning. Whereas for example, you have the hurricane, you will imagine is something is very quick, very sudden, very powerful, very strong force you have to reckon with. The frost is very similar to the concept of the softness of the snow. In this case, to me, it shows you the way in which everything freezes down when it's frosty. You know, everything stops. There's the stillness that comes out of frost. And so on and so forth. We've got the rainbow and everything. I really enjoy using these two decks together. Not just because, as I said before, aesthetically they pair really well, but it's also because the energies just work. They work together. It's something that you cannot not see it. It's something that you feel it first and foremost. You feel it in your intuition, in your guts. And then, you know, you will start also noticing the things that will come out of the decks. Like, for example, whenever there's stars in both the cards, whenever there's a night sky in both the cards. In this case, we've got the Hermit with the moon shining, and we've got the night sky, the starry night sky, and the meteor. So it's something that in many cases will give you the opportunity to become the storyteller that you need to be when you read tarot. I think I was mentioning this a couple of times in a few videos, but tarot readers are storytellers, not because we make something up, but because we need to find the best way to communicate a message that is visual in a form that is understandable with words. So we are storytelling. I really love this. So the Phenomena Oracle by Jessica Bott pairs really well with the Pacific Northwest Tarot. And another really beautiful oracle deck that I got in the month of May. This is the Human Spirit Oracle by Jenna della Grottaglia. That sounds very Italian, by the way. And it's published by Rockpool. It's a very recent publication. I actually don't know. I didn't get this one from the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival. I got it from Amazon. But I don't know whether it's available worldwide. In any case, as always, I will put the link in the description box below. Now, this oracle is very... So at first, when I saw especially cards like this, I was like, I don't know. But then you read the description and it says add in the clouds and you go, oh yeah, absolutely. So this is the kind of deck that uses art and photographic manipulation in such a way as to conduce the meaning of the card, and it pairs up and it creates that bridge with the keyword in a very, very efficient way, I would say. Broken open, siren song, blessing in disguise. That's absolutely beautiful. Not my circus, not my monkeys. This card came, I don't know how many times when I was reading for myself. It was actually kind of a stalker card for me, and that's when I probably decided to take a step away from people and, you know, just dedicate myself to animals. But it's really beautiful. I really like this deck. I'm not entirely sure 100% that there is no AI manipulation, but just to be honest with you, I don't really think that there's a clear, you know, boundary between photographic manipulation, which is clear in this deck, obviously, and AI. Photographic manipulation, when it's done by yourself, of course, someone would say that's not AI. AI is not initiated. So it's initiated by yourself, but it's not done by yourself. However, if you deal with photography like I have for many, many decades, you will know that there's nothing, if you use Photoshop, even though there are ways in which you tweak, obviously, the images and you decide how to tweak them, but there's a lot of presets, and presets you can find them on Lightroom. It doesn't necessarily need Photoshop, but even in our iPhones there's presets, right? Whenever you choose to I don't know, saturation, and then you have a filter which is applied. That filter is not your own manipulation, and you're not the one that decides what color to saturate, what color to desaturate, etc. That is the computer that is deciding that. So where is the border between the two? I don't want to be confrontational at all, nor argumentative. My intention is to say that I don't know enough, okay? I would love to have the time to get to know these kind of things, and that's the reason why I'm actually reading the legislation that is proposed in Europe around the regulation around AI, because I think that that will give me a bit more of an idea on how to feel about it. Because so far, what I can see from an aesthetic point of view, I actually like it. Not all of it for sure, but in this case, I really like it. So this is the Human Spirit Oracle. It's a very beautiful oracle deck, very touching. As I said, I have a stalker card from this oracle deck. The other ones, I don't know the oracle well enough to know. I do go back and forth between the guidebook and the cards, but it's a very, very beautiful one. And you know, it does say learning to reconnect, because it does feel like it helps you to reconnect with your own self, with your own energy, which is something that I actually needed in the month of May. And I think that this is the last deck. Yeah, we made it. So it's the last deck from my May haul, although, as I said before, there's actually 6 or 7 more. But they are in a different video, because when I went to the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival in Sydney, I got a lot of decks from Rockpool, for example, and Blue Angel, and so I did a whole video just on them. So this is the Supra Oracle by Uzi. I love the fact that I finally got one of their tarot bags or oracle bags. At one time I used to have the Pagan Otherworlds as well, which is the tarot deck by the same publisher, but the cards are so big and they're so slippery, because it's a really high quality linen kind of finish, that whenever I was shuffling them, And that's very personal. As I always say, I have small hands, but I also have injuries in my fingers. So I have to find my own way to shuffle in order not to be in pain. And that deck was a pain for me. I had to hike around the room every time to just pick up all the jumpers because it just wouldn't stay, you know, in my hands. It just wouldn't. This one is actually an edition that, this is the first edition. And it's not linen. It's a very beautiful, very buttery kind of cardstock that reminds me a lot of the 80s US Games tarot decks, if you know what I mean. I love this deck. It's very Jungian, so it's very psychological. It's got a lot of death into the keywords, and it's also very elemental and alchemical in many of the images. I was actually, because I'm studying alchemy, and I was actually reading about the difference between anima and animus, and in English it would be in between soul and spirit, because even I knew that that was something different, because in Italian we have different words. So Italian obviously comes from Latin, so we also say, we translate animus with courage rather than spirit. And anima, that's the soul, that's the word for soul in Italian. But it's so very interesting to read, there you go, anima. It's so very interesting to read the alchemical concept behind these words. And so I really, really enjoy this deck. I pair it up with the Yokai Yochi Tarot, with the Avisomnia Tarot. What else? With the Antique Anatomy Tarot. And I don't remember. Maybe another one. But it's very versatile. It's very beautiful. The keywords. So I have the book, the guidebook as well. But I don't. It's not like the other oracle deck by Uzi, which is called Materia Prima. That one you definitely need the guidebook, because unless you're you know, you're always knowledgeable about the elements, the chemical elements, which I'm not, or at least not yet, or at least not all of them. But this one can actually be read because of the keywords being so very clear. It can actually be read without the guidebook. So this is the Supra Oracle by Uzi. And this was the last deck, you know, for my May haul. However, there's a couple of things that I want to show you. So let's have a look. First and foremost, I have to say thank you to one of my subscribers. I forgot to reach out and ask if it was okay for me to name them. So it's a wonderful person. She's got a coffee business in Brisbane, or in Queensland, and with her mum, they're making these really beautiful tarot bags. You know who you are, so if you want to advertise for you know, the business, feel free to put it in the comments below. Sorry I didn't reach out to ask if it was okay to talk about it. So this is a really beautiful tarot bag, and I'm very happy because I don't have many tarot bags. You know, for now I'm actually hosting the Lorenzi Tarot. But I'm thinking, I'm doing a selection of, I wanted to put the Botanica deck in here. It's just that I needed to use the Botanica on and off for different projects. So for now, it's the other tarot decks. But it's just, it's beautiful. Really high quality, absolutely superb colors. And I really, really love it. It's so very well done. So thank you so much for sending this to me. This came as a present because I gave this person a reading. One of the free subscribers readings that I give on in the middle of the week, I do not ask for any kind of payment. Many of you came back to me giving a donation to my PayPal account. Thank you so very much. I am very, very grateful. It is a way to support my channel. Others, you know, sent me present, which is always very appreciated. I am a bit, it's very difficult for me. I come from a culture in Italy in which we have to really always work very hard to get something. So I'm always a bit embarrassed in the sense that I always accept presents and donations with an open heart, because I know that the intention is so lovely, you know, behind it. and they come from very lovely people. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I'm not asking for any kind of payment. I'm very happy to give free readings to my subscribers. I do ask in return to subscribe to my channel and to stay subscribed to my channel, because eventually I will get monetized, and that's something that I want to try and work on. But thank you so much for this. You know who you are. It's such a beautiful tarot bag. So there's a couple of books that I read in the month of May. I also do use a Kindle, so I don't always use actual physical books. But this one is a very old book in my collection. It's a book of poems by Giuseppe Ungaretti. So he's an Italian, but he's actually born in Alexandria of Egypt, from an Italian family, and he's a representative of what we call Hermeticism. So that's a kind of movement of poetry that was born in Italy, and it's a very similar concept to the haiku. So if you know what the Japanese concept of haiku is, this is very similar. It's a very succinct kind of writing, as you can tell. There's very small sentences, and the poems are very, very small. I used to love this author, this poet. It still is one of my favorite ones, and some of his poems are absolutely fantastic. And also because there's something very, how should I say, there's something very satisfying in being able to memorize a poem, because it's so short that it doesn't take much, and you can say that you can actually recite poems, full poems, because they're so short. So this is whenever I need to get back to, let's say, a state of relaxation, I always look into these poems, because I really, really like this author. Then last year I spent a month in London, and I bought like 20 books. And because I used to live in London, I used to study there when I was in my early 20s, and that was the late 90s, and I used to love London so much that I had to move, but a piece of my heart is still there. And I bought this book. It's called Londoners, because it's got stories of very, very special Londoners, taxi drivers, not special as in famous people, common people like us, but they tell a story, and most of the time it's a very interesting story, very, very on point. Sometimes it's humorous, sometimes it's very touching, it's very sad, but it's a fantastic book. If you love London as much as I do, I highly recommend this book, because it's so quintessentially London. You will feel like you still live there. So then Banana Yoshimoto is one of my favorite authors. She's Japanese. I love all of her books. Being Italian, we were so lucky because we had a lot of Japanese books translated into Italian before they were actually translated into English. So I actually know her from, I don't know, decades ago. This is not by no means a new book. As a matter of fact, I think it was published back in 2005, the original, but it was translated in 2011. Fair enough. But I never had time to read it. And so I actually started it. The reason why, so there's a couple of books that I really like by Banana Yoshimoto, and one of them is Amrita. Amrita is, it's a very beautiful book. I think it's translated the same. It's the name of a person, so they wouldn't have changed the name in the English translation. I really like her style. There's no two ways around that. I think she's absolutely amazing. And I do have this passion for Japanese literature, so whether it's not Murakami, I try to alternate Murakami with different Japanese authors, translated obviously, every month. So May was the month of Banana Yoshimoto. And I'm sure that you all know this game, BioShock. It's an old one. But in the month of May, I don't know, I felt like I didn't want to start anything new. I do have a couple of new games that I bought. One is Stray. It's about a kitty cat that saves the world. It's just fantastic. I haven't started it yet. I'm really looking forward to it. But I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to go back to this game and play BioShock. It's this kind of game that is open world looting kind of thing, that there's a lot of shooting as well, which I don't particularly like because I use a controller and I'm not very good. But Bioshock is still, I think it still does have that kind of aim assist kind of trick that you can actually use. If you don't know, this is set in this dystopian kind of future in which yes, pretty much everything is controlled by some kind of cult, you know, and there's this man that is in charge of finding a very important girl. Let's put it this way, I'm not gonna give any more details out because just in case you haven't played it yet, although it would be very weird that you haven't played this game, because if you do like these kind of games, Bioshock is, you know, it's very famous. It was very famous. And so that's what I've been playing in the month of May. Last but not least, this month I've been using another Mont Blanc. It's this one is a very special pen, fountain pen for me, because it's out of the Little Prince edition. And I honestly, I think that it was probably the first Mont Blanc pen that I got in my collection. And I don't know, it just opened up a new world. The quality of these pens is just absolutely superb. I know that they're incredibly expensive, but there's a reason. There's no two ways around that. And I'm by no means an expert, so obviously, you know, there'll be people telling you that no, they're not the best ones. I'm not saying that they are. What I'm saying is that they are the best ones for me in my collection and for my needs, because I do pay attention to a lot of symbols, and the Little Prince is very meaningful for me. And this is just, you know, when I saw, I think it was probably 5-6 years ago that they came out with this this line from the Little Prince, and when I saw it, I just really I saved the money and to buy it, because I really wanted to have this. However, I wanted to show you a couple of inks that I got, but these inks cannot be used with the Mont Blanc. I highly recommend always using Mont Blanc inks for Mont Blanc pens, fountain pens, because you don't want to ruin a Mont Blanc pen, because it can be very costly. And but I absolutely adore these inks, and because there's a lot of shimmer and sheen as well on these ones, these are called Krishna, Elegant Teal and Monsoon Sky, then I actually bought a very affordable Kaweco with a double broad nib. As you can tell, let's see if it's focusing, sorry. It's a double broad nib, so it's a very, very wide kind of nib. What I do, I have a syringe, so this is just one normal cartridge for Kaweco, and I just refill it every time with my syringe. Now it's empty. I need to actually clean it, but I absolutely wanted to show you these two inks. If you're, as I always said, this point of my monthly wrap up, I know that the majority of you will be here for the cards, which is absolutely fine, and that's also the bulk of the video, but these are the kind of things that I really care about. And many of you also said that they also like fountain pens and inks, and so I'm showing this, but if you're not interested, skip ahead. I won't be offended by any means. So this is my favorite color in absolutely teal, green, and blue. Color is my favorite, and it's just one of those inks that cannot be used with like a medium or a fine kind of a nib, because it would just block the feeders. I think they're called the feeders. But I just wanted to show you how beautiful this ink is. So now this is Tomoegawa paper, Tomoe Riva. It's also called Tomoe Riva. It's a Japanese style of paper. This is the old production. It's an old batch. When I heard that they were changing the composition of the batch, I bought like heaps of it. And because it's the only one that it's super thin, as you can tell, it's really thin. But it can take any amount of ink, and I will show you, without any episode of ghosting. So ghosting is when the ink actually goes through the paper, and you can actually see it on the other side. Look how beautiful this color is. It's just superb. I really enjoy the way it behaves on the paper as well. So Tomoegawa or Tomoe River paper, as I said, is Japanese. I do believe that they have a lot of resellers around the world. One very famous one is a Turkish one. It's called Galen Leather, and they do all sorts of products, and they also sell notebooks with Tomoegawa paper. Tomoegawa paper can also be bought on Amazon in some countries. Since Amazon Australia has this deal with Amazon Japan, I'm really looking forward to buy Tomoegawa paper from Amazon Japan without having to pay too much on shipping. See, I always go back to shipping costs. I'm sorry, but it's like talking about fuel costs in Australia. You know, shipping costs, fuel costs, it's the same thing. So what I like to do is to give it a couple of passes just to show you how much of the color the page can take. And I really like to see how it behaves. For example, you can already start seeing there's a bit of sheen here. Many others will have, for example, a bit of shimmer as well. That's something that you really need to be careful about, but that is in absolute my favorite color. And as I can show you doing this, there's absolutely no ghosting. You can literally, when this is dry, you can literally just write on this other side of this page because there's no ghosting. Even though, as you could tell, I was very generous with the pass of the ink. So this is the elegant teal color, and I'm going to show you the monsoon sky as well. Let me just put the bottle back in, because if you have dealt with inks before, you will know that when you spill something, it's impossible, especially this kind of really strong pigmented inks. It's impossible to get it off anything, just, even including your own skin, unless you have a very specific product which is called an ink remover, which is very toxic on top of everything because it's kind of abrasive. Trust me, you will not be able to remove it. And I obviously don't want to ruin anything. So this is, let me just open it on the side. So this is the monsoon sky. There you go. This is a new batch because I think I actually bought 2 of these because I finished the first one. Look how beautiful this blue is. It's just fantastic. It's a very different kind of hue, as you can tell. This is clearly more towards the green, and this is like a sky blue. But it's 2 of my favorite colors. I absolutely adore these 2 colors. So I just wanted to show you this because it's something that makes me happy. I don't know if you have the same kind of you know, thing. For me, it's all about stationery makes me happy. Everything that is related to fountain pens and inks and really good paper in specific makes me really happy. It's just something that, you know, I look forward to, and they're very affordable. I don't know, there's a distributor here in Australia, so I will put the link below, but I don't know whether they distribute overseas as well. Perhaps they do. See, that's becoming even more clear. The sheen of this elegant teal is just absolutely superb. So this is what I wanted to show you for this month. You know, the big decks haul that I had, a couple of books, my video game playing, and fountain pens and inks. And thank you so much for staying with me till the end of this video. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. There's more to come. Have a great day.